Once upon a time, in a small suburban neighborhood in the United States, lived a boy named Ethan. Ethan was a kind-hearted, cheerful child who loved animals, especially his pet dog, Buddy. Buddy was a little golden retriever puppy that Ethan's father, Michael, had brought home when he was just a few months old. The moment Ethan saw Buddy, he felt an instant connection. They became inseparable, spending countless hours playing together, exploring the streets, and lying in the backyard under the stars. Buddy was more than just a pet to Ethan. He was a best friend, a constant companion. Ethan's father, Michael, was a hardworking man who loved his family, but was often under immense pressure. As Ethan grew older, his grades at school started to suffer. Despite his best efforts, Ethan couldn't focus on his studies because Buddy would distract him, and the pressure started to build up. One day, after a tense conversation with his wife, Sarah, Michael made a decision that would break Ethan's heart. In a bid to make sure Ethan could focus on his studies, Michael decided to sell Buddy. The decision was a difficult one, and it tore him apart, but he believed it was the right thing to do for his son's future. Without telling Ethan, he sold Buddy to a man in the neighborhood, thinking it was a temporary solution. When Ethan found out that Buddy had been sold, his world crumbled. He ran to his father, tears streaming down his face, demanding to know where Buddy was. But Michael, with a heavy heart, explained that it was for the best, that Ethan needed to focus on his education. Ethan didn't understand. How could his father do this? Buddy was not just a pet, he was a part of their family. But there was nothing he could do. Buddy was gone. Days turned into weeks, and the emptiness left by Buddy's absence weighed heavily on Ethan. He stopped playing outside, lost interest in school, and became distant from everyone. His mother, Sarah, tried to comfort him, but it was clear that Ethan's heart was broken beyond repair. Meanwhile, Buddy was living with his new owners, but he too seemed lost and out of place. Months passed. Ethan's grades had improved, but his sorrow for Buddy never faded. One chilly evening, as Ethan sat on the front porch, he noticed something in the distance, a familiar wagging tail. His heart skipped a beat. He rubbed his eyes, unsure if he was seeing things, but no, it was Buddy, running towards him with the same excitement he remembered. Ethan's face lit up with joy as Buddy leaped into his arms, licking his face, tail wagging wildly. The bond they shared was still as strong as ever. Ethan felt his heart swell with happiness and relief. He promised Buddy that he would never let him go again. But just as the boy and dog were about to walk back into the house, an unexpected and shocking turn of events occurred. As Ethan and Buddy stood on the doorstep, celebrating their reunion, a group of men appeared. They seemed to be watching from a distance, and before Ethan could comprehend what was happening, they approached him. The men claimed that the dog belonged to them and demanded he hand Buddy over. Ethan tried to protest, confused and frightened, but the men insisted that they were the rightful owners and that the dog had been sold to them by someone else. Before Ethan could do anything, the men grabbed Buddy, pulling him away. Ethan screamed for help, but no one seemed to listen. The men shoved Buddy into a van, barking commands as Ethan chased after them, helpless. But just as the situation seemed to escalate, a police officer arrived. The men accused Ethan's father, Michael, of selling the dog illegally, claiming they had proof of ownership. Ethan was stunned. boy turned into confusion, and his heart sank. The police took statements, and it was revealed that the men were part of an underground dog trade. They had purchased Buddy under the guise of being the rightful owners, and now they were accusing Michael of being involved in the illegal deal. Despite Michael's genuine intentions, he was arrested for unknowingly participating in the illegal sale. Ethan was left heartbroken once again. The joy of seeing Buddy was short-lived. Not only had he lost his beloved dog once, but now his father was taken away in handcuffs. The boy stood there, frozen, watching as the men drove off with Buddy, and his father was led away by the police. Buddy, once again, was trapped. But this time, he was not just physically trapped by the men. The dark web of illegal activities and accusations surrounded him. Ethan couldn't understand why it had to be like this. How had things gone so wrong? A homeless man who had been watching everything from a distance saw the entire ordeal unfold. He approached Ethan and explained that he had witnessed the entire situation. He told Ethan that he had seen the men take Buddy from the porch, and he knew where they had gone. The homeless man offered to help Ethan by reporting the situation to the authorities. Ethan was grateful for the help, and after the homeless man went to the police, things began to change. The police eventually caught the men responsible for the illegal dog trade. But Michael had to go through a lengthy process to prove that he had no part in the crime. The case was investigated, and it was revealed that the whole thing was an unfortunate series of misunderstandings. The men who took Buddy were not just thieves, but involved in a much larger and more dangerous operation. Michael was eventually released, and the truth came out. However, the emotional scars of the ordeal lingered. But after months of battling for justice, Buddy was finally returned to Ethan. The boy and his dog were reunited for good, and Ethan promised that no matter what, he would protect Buddy from harm. And so, the story of Ethan, his father, and his beloved dog came to a close, full of heartache, love, and a twist of fate that tested the bond between them all. Ethan had learned an important lesson. Sometimes life's struggles come with unexpected challenges, but true love and loyalty always find their way back. Moral of the story: no matter how tough life gets, love and loyalty will always prevail. And sometimes, the truth takes time to reveal itself, but it's always worth fighting for.